broken system, chained and tangled up in lies. Voices shouting, screaming in defeat. Politicians playing games under darkened skies. Hope lost in the dust of the street. Red and blue, colors pouring from the sky. Debates turn to anger, oh, the crowd gets loud. Punches flying in the blink of an eye. Truth buried deep beneath the shroud. Welcome to the bullpen, where we don't survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Faces on the screen, flashing perfect teeth. But behind those eyes, just rotting greed. Politicians turn to whispers beneath. They all just get what they need. Whispering conspiracies, drowning in their lies. Echoes of freedom, lost in cries. Spin the wheel of fate, let's see who rise. But this game will bleed you dry. Welcome to the bullpen, where we don't survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive. Welcome to the bullpen, where the weak don't survive. These broken dreams we defend, trying to keep alive.
Good morning and welcome to the bullpen. We won. The election's over. We had a fun night on Tuesday. Hopefully that intro is the last time we have to actually look at Kamala. I know we've still got 70 days or so until they're out of the White House.
Starting next week, Brahma, we will be unburdened by what has been on the
Yeah.
opening of the bullpen.
Yep, I've got to just find some more meltdown clips so I can string them together to go into the song. So that'll be fun. Why am I not on camera? There I am. So yeah, we had a great election night. I know a whole bunch of you spent some time with us that night, so thank you very much for that. And yeah, I guess we go into a new phase of the bullpen. It's no longer election phase. It's we get to just watch the bull running wild in the China shop here in the next few months.
I know. What you gonna do when Trumpomania runs wild on you? It's gonna be fun. This is gonna be honestly, from my perspective, this is the make or break period for Trump 47. And I'm really happy because last night he did the first great policy decision of his transition, which was releasing a statement that Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo will not have a role in his administration.
Will be nowhere near
Will be
the
persona
administration.
non grata. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are plugged in our chat who understand why having Mike Pompeo not near the administration is a great, great call. If he had run for Senate somewhere like I think he was out of Kansas and was a Republican Senate, good for him. Yeah, whatever. But he, as Secretary of State and doing he was an agent of the deep state, blocking Trump from declassifying and running interference. He recommended Gina Haslip, to be the CIA director when she was the London section chief that was overseeing the spying on the Trump campaign. For those of you who don't or maybe not have been plugged in or watched some of the documentaries that broke down how it went down. The way the Obama administration captured intelligence on the Trump campaign was using the Steele dossier. They got a FISA warrant for foreign intelligence surveillance, and it
Hmm.
was all routed through the London office because Steele, being a London source, it was basically saying because we have foreign intelligence sources out of London, we can start capturing this stuff. So it was all sourced out of her section. Like she was the prime mover in helping make sure that FISA warrant was documented for, you know, going after the camp. All the
Yeah.
intelligence was gathered from stuff in the United States. That's how messed up our security apparatus is. Like because somebody in a foreign country can do like can for the Clinton campaign, mind you, you get paid to make an unverified dossier, which they then leak to a newspaper so that the newspaper writes an article so that this article is then used as support of the dossier when they go for a FISA warrant.
Yeah.
That's the second source. The second source is a newspaper article talking about these allegations, even though it was sourced from the same initial document. They tell the FISA court, look, see, the newspaper people are talking about it too. So there's multiple sources on this thing.
Yeah. The
And
fact that journalists are so interested in always running with anonymous sources now with no backup on anything is one of the more concerning things about the mainstream media at the moment, because I mean they will just take anything said and without verifying, doing anything, just run with it just to be the first ones
yeah,
to break the news.
yeah. So Trump shutting down Pompeo being in there, shutting down Nikki Haley being in there. Um, it is great, great news.
Yeah. Gojira. Will Malay come in for a few days to run how-to sessions, or is Trump just going to borrow his chainsaw?
I love the fact that we have 53 votes in the Senate now with
Yeah.
the I mean we couldn't quite get it a little more. I know there's a lot
There's going to
of
be some arguing about
arguing
Arizona.
About Kerry Lake in Arizona, and because it seems odd that these people would run behind Trump at these margins, but I it happens. This is true. Trump attracts people who like Trump who don't necessarily like other Republicans.
True.
And now, do I think that does Arizona make it easier for these allegations to be done? Does it make it look like shenanigans may have happened? Yeah, they definitely need to clean things up. We've talked before about how Florida should be the model for how to run elections now in the 21st century. Florida had over 10 11 million votes and they had them counted by like 9 p.m.
Yeah. Well,
and
and
they
two different time zones.
yeah.
So I mean the first polls closed, and within about 37 to 40 minutes they had everything counted.
Yeah, because I think the polls close at 7 p.m. Eastern and then followed by 7 p.m. Central. So, but the
Yep.
last poll in Florida should be closed by 8, which means by 9 p.m. Eastern time, they had the results and it was done.
Yeah, they're just sitting there waiting on the panhandle to close so that they
Yep.
can finish it off. So, yeah, they did an excellent job once again. I think they were embarrassed by the hanging chads, and they've had it pretty well done ever since then, I think. So,
And I believe, yeah, I know Southern Bell says Seth Richter still has his job. I think he lost, and he's still technically in office through this election, but he lost his um his reelection campaign.
yeah.
So
Well, and
I mean,
we as a show get to take a little bit of a victory lap too, because me and you had been looking at everything. We're trying to source everything the best that we can, and our predictions, our electoral college map, ended up being exactly right on the 312. Um, I should have clipped from last week's show and just had it ready so that we could just show. Yeah, we called 34 or 35 Senate seats. Um,
mhm.
well, anywhere from 33 to 35, and control of the House. So we uh,
and
we hit
and I
it
think
dead on, and we
yeah.
said popular vote.
Yeah. Now we did, that's why we did a couple of different models where I was talking about like, look, if this is a full on like 1980s level wipeout, it would, this is what it would look like. We didn't quite get there because even with Trump winning the swing states, he won all seven swing states, but he still didn't like. If it was Reagan level, he would have been winning by like 40. Like the his margin of victory in Texas and Florida, which is around 14 points,
Yeah.
is what we would have seen in all the swing states too. And if he swings that kind of margin, even with other people, polling below him, he would have pulled all the swing Senate seats with him, and he would have pulled like probably another 10, 15 houses of Congress, seats in
If
Congress.
you had a third party that wasn't Jill
Yep.
Stein, it probably
Yeah.
could have had that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But we, I mean, our initial map that we were saying, yeah, this is what we think is going to happen, was the 312. Then we talked about, possibilities, but
Yep.
yeah, we were dead on with the 312. So was Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen. He was within half a percentage point of having the election called perfectly. So congratulations to him, and glad that we've got him as a source we can be looking at outside of the mainstream pollers, because Atlas and Rasmussen were pretty close to dead on.
So I am going to share something real quick. We do have some hope for Arizona maybe starting next elections
Yeah,
because Stephen Richer, who is the schmucky guy that we've all seen on TV and since the last couple elections, he lost he's a Republican. He lost the primary to Justin Heap, and this is and you can it's an AP article, right? So what's going to be the first line is that at least in the primaries, it was like Heap, who has questioned the integrity of elections and the authenticity. Yeah, like he's been like this is all about Richard's been falsely claimed about widespread office. So Richard's out. Heap, who was a member of the Arizona State Freedom Caucus and was very much campaigned on trying to clean up the irregularities
yeah,
in Maricopa County, is now in charge of that. So there, and I think we talked on the show that when Kamala Harris got tapped, our first read, our gut reaction was Kamala was not there to win. She was there to allow for them to stem the bleeding on the
yeah,
down ballot races, and that's what it looks like actually happened.
sacrificial. Yep,
Yep, she was there
for
to
sure.
motivate people just enough. And I think that especially in a state like Wisconsin, where Hovde just missed it to Tammy Baldwin, and Michigan, where Slotkin just won out over Roger, those ones are maybe where the Kamala campaign and some of the scare tactics about abortion maybe motivated some of those unmarried women type votes just enough to push that number over there, because those were super close. We
Yeah,
had a couple cases where the election was less close. Like the two cases where it was the least close out of those swing state Senate races, I think is going to turn out to be Arizona with Carrie Lake, where she's
hmm,
running. At least right now, it's hard to tell because Arizona, again, takes forever to get all their votes in. So when they do those final drops, we'll see what the margin was. But right now, it looks like Carrie Lake is, you know,
probably going to
probably,
fall 20 to 40,000 short.
yeah. And she's losing right now 49.7. So it's closed. Okay, so they have closed it. So hers is actually her and Sam Brown in Nevada are close, but Tammy Baldwin, I mean, they're talking. I mean, that one was 26,000 votes in Wisconsin. Slotkin won by 18, 21,000 votes in Michigan.
Yeah,
And it looks like McCormick is going to actually be the biggest, margin out of the swing state ones, where he's going to end up winning by maybe 30 plus thousand. Right now it's 39,000 over Casey in Pennsylvania.
and then we've got a slew of House races that are still going to take another week, maybe two,
Yeah,
and
because
probably
they're out
some
of
recounts
California.
coming.
Yeah. I think we're it looks like we're, the last Arizona Senate seat that is up the Republican incumbent is up a few thousand votes with 87% reporting, I think he might kick it up. There is an interesting race in Colorado that you might have been hearing about locally, where it's Gabe Evans running against Yadira Caraveo.
Yeah,
it's a
good luck.
it's a seat. Yeah, it's a seat out of Denver where Caraveo is the incumbent Democrat, and he's losing right now by about 3-4 thousand votes. But Colorado, I think, has mail-in balloting, so they
Yeah.
have to wait. I mean, allegedly, you're supposed to have it postmarked and in. So by yesterday, anything that was sent by mail postmarked on election day should have been received. Should should
Well,
have been received.
that may depend in Colorado. If it was postmarked, we had the major snowstorm over the past 3 or 4 days, so we've had almost 2 feet of snow. So I don't know if that's going to slow down the USPS a little bit or not.
Well, the only thing is they should
Should
all be local
they should
mail
all
too.
be in city.
Yeah,
So except for maybe some military ballots or you know I don't know, overseas ballots.
I mean, I'll show you the map here, and you can tell me as a Colorado resident, it's right basically the section right north of Denver is this district.
Yeah, blow it up a little bit. So
Right here.
yeah. So that's going to be just outside of Denver. So it's not Aurora, but what is that up there? North Glen, maybe.
Yeah, I'd have no frame of reference for what that actually would be. But it should all be the kind of mail where it gets there within, usually it's next day, even if it's 2 to 3 day priority, right? If you're doing same zip code type mail, the
Yeah,
post office will always tell you it'll get picked up by like 4 p.m. and it'll be delivered by the next day. Yeah.
yeah. I don't
So
know. We get some of that goofy crap where I'll mail something in Colorado Springs to somebody else in Colorado Springs, and it'll somehow route through the Denver post office. So
now this is
who
interesting because
knows?
to me, with a Democratic incumbent right north of Denver, losing this race might be an indicator of how Colorado, some of that local news maybe swung a congressional election where
It's
people were
possible.
maybe a little fed up. I don't know in the end, House races tend to be candidate driven, right?
Yeah,
It's as much as we like to
which
think there's a
candidate actually
national
turns out
referendum.
the vote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very upset because in Virginia, the one congressional race I was very invested in was Eugene Vindman in Virginia 7, and he managed to win.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Unfortunately,
we don't need is a Vindman in the government again. So
which is lucky for me. I'm really looking forward to him being a minority backbencher congressman who does nothing, so
just
that
tweets or
who
has his wife tweet
his
for
wife
him.
will just tweet. So, but I think in the end, my guess is the House were right around 220 plus or minus like one. Could go as
Yeah,
high. I think I don't think we'd get below 219 because right now open congressional seats. One of them is Alaska. That's going to Nick Begich. It's just Alaska takes forever. Like you want
because
to
of the
talk about,
ranked choice voting.
it's not just the ranked choice. Is there's parts of Alaska that they only get the mail like once a week and they have to
Yeah,
fly it to a. I mean,
a little bit
the
isolated.
a little bit isolated. So you know, if we pick up that Arizona one where we have, it's not a pickup, it's an incumbent, and then Alaska, which it should be, that would get us to 218 right there. And then it's just a matter of some of these, you know, California districts where they are, um, like Orange County and some of the places where they have been Republican in the past. And in an election like this, we should expect to maybe pull another three,
Well, and
two,
especially
three
when you
seats.
look at some of the local issues that Californians voted on and said, "Yeah, we're sick of it." I mean, they did vote for quite a few based things like, "Hey,
Prop 47.
let's send people to jail for shoplifting and whatnot, or at least have harsher penalties." I think everybody's pretty much done with Gavin's crap. So we saw a significant shift red in California. Not not big enough to do anything statewide, but maybe enough to to shift some of these races. So
Yeah, I'm
that'll
looking at California. There's probably right around three more seats we should pick up from California. So that would put us at the high end at 221. So that's why, but it's California. That's why I'm hedging my bet and saying 220 is where I think it finishes,
yeah,
which is still,
218 is control.
yeah,
So
which is where we're at right now. We're at like basically the House is 218 Republican effectively because of the retirements and other shenanigans.
yeah. So I don't know. Are you excited about Speaker Mike Johnson sticking around, or
I don't
would you
think that.
rather see them maybe take another vote on that? I don't want everything to start out looking like a absolute crap show, like with with the House. It may be best just to stick with Johnson. We definitely need to have a little bit of talk about the Senate leadership.
Yeah, that one is the bigger one for me because the House, I didn't see. I am one of the people and where I didn't see any real point of ousting McCarthy. It
No,
was
other
it.
than protest of McCarthyism.
Yep.
I
It
mean,
was.
it didn't do anything. You're not going to do anything when you don't have the Senate and you don't have the presidency. All you can do is obstruct and try to keep things from, you know, rolling over the House. So it wasn't like McCarthy was going to be able to get anything done. Johnson definitely wasn't able to get anything done. We actually lost a couple seats because people decided to jump out of their seats right there in this last 3 or 4 months. So I don't know that it really matters, except for that person is in the line of succession at this point. Do we want Johnson to be that guy?
I mean, there's not much. There's. What is there a better? My question is, there's not anybody who's going to wrangle those cats any better.
No, I mean, as much as I like Gates, he's definitely not ever going to be the speaker.
Gates is never going to even be in leadership.
No.
Gates.
Um,
Gates is the kind of guy who will be a perennial just backbench type
well, kind of
congressman.
like Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're
Yeah, I
they're not
mean, well,
going to bring anybody together to get anything done.
Boebert
So
has other attributes that make her a qualified congressman.
yes, the same ones that Anna Paulina Luna has.
Yeah. I'll tell you who, if in terms of leadership, I would definitely. I don't know where he is right now, but Byron Donalds should be definitely moved into a leadership role.
Yeah,
I really like, what he's done. He's coming out. Plus, I love the idea of building on our base in Florida because these are people who are going to be strong, sound, conservative guys now. Florida has become a great kind of
proving ground for the
proving
Republican
ground
Party.
minor league. We haven't got a lot of great coming out of Texas though. Like we've
No,
Cornyn is a terrible senator and he's running for leadership. So yeah, the leadership race in the Senate is the harder one and the more important fight because that's where the confirmations are going to happen. And
yeah,
Mitch McConnell effed over Trump in 2016 on confirmations on several cabinet posts where he couldn't get the guys he actually wanted because
yeah,
McConnell said we won't bring them up.
yep. And out of the three that are running for leadership, I think Scott's the
Rick
only
Scott is
viable
the yeah.
option.
Yeah, John Thune, we can't. John Thune is
Thune is
McConnell,
a
the
freaking
next
nightmare.
McConnell. Yeah, he's owned and fully owned and operated extension of the Uniparty. So he is not someone. He'd be doing the exact same kind of things that we hate about um,
About
Mitch
McConnell.
McConnell. So and he's been a McConnell disciple. I I would have. I mean, out of the people in the Senate, I would probably trust Mike Lee the most out of the senators to probably do that, but he has no interest in, I think, being the majority leader. I've also seen it proposed because
The
historically it
Vance
has
option.
happened, the Vance option, because he is technically going to still be a member of the Senate as the vice president. He's the president of the Senate,
President of
and
the Senate.
therefore he can be elected to positions as a majority or minority leader.
Yeah,
So it's an option.
that would probably be my favorite outcome if they did that, but I don't know how much I don't know how much Trump is going to be delegating to Vance, so I don't know how easy it would be to, have your projects that Trump wants you working on, as well as fully run it, not just be the president of the Senate, but run the party as well. Because remember that that person also has to be very involved in the midterm elections and making sure the money's going where it needs to go. Unlike what McConnell was doing with certain races, and why Kerry Lake may be far behind and not getting elected, because they did not give any money that I'm aware of to Kerry Lake's
On
um,
the plus side, they spent
election.
money in Maryland, which was retarded.
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up in Northern Virginia mostly, like elementary, middle, and high school. Went to college here. Everybody knows they're not taking that Senate seat in Maryland. This wasn't something where it was going to be a question. Dumping any money in that race is just wasteful.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what kind of kumbaya crack they were smoking to legitimately believe Larry Hogan had a chance at the Senate seat, but it's that Senate seat is the equivalent of the people who spent all that money on Allred in Texas.
yep,
I do love the fact that Ted Cruz has become a black hole for Democrat money trying to
yeah.
unseat him, because as much as people don't like Cruz, and I have my own issues with him, they have, in the last two times he's run for election, spent almost 300-400 million dollars trying to unseat him, and they've lost by bigger margins each time.
Between Beto and
And all,
Allred, yeah. It was nice to not have to see Beto all over the place this election cycle.
you know
I don't think I saw him pop up once. I think I saw Stacey Abrams pop up a couple times, but nothing from Beto O'Rourke.
and just as an example of people, when you ask like, hey, do people really vote for Trump but not the down ballot ones? Texas is a good example. Trump crushed it in Texas, won by 14 points, got 6.3 million votes. So you'd think if everybody was going down ballot, well, no, Ted Cruz only got 5.9. So that means there's over 400,000 people who voted for Trump who did not vote for Cruz. Now they
Yep,
didn't turn around and vote for Allred. He only got
right,
5 million. So there, the he so that, which by the way is about 200,000 more than Harris. So he outperformed Harris by a couple points. But there was also a third party candidate where they voted 266,000. So what it looks like, as happens, people voted for Trump because they like Trump and trust Trump. But what they aren't willing to do necessarily is always trust the traditional Republicans yet. Has changed the party, but a lot of people are still in a mindset where they trust Trump because they don't think of him as a Republican, and they don't vote for Republicans.
right. His biggest challenge during this presidency will be kind of turning the establishment Republicans into his own brand. Just getting the Republican Party to be trusted by the actual Republicans, because we've had so many issues with the establishment versus the MAGA movement in general. I'd like to thank Eric K out there for gifting 5 memberships to the Bullpen and to Brahma Bull. Thank you very much, sir. Good to see you. And we should
Gojira does have a
address
point. Yeah,
Goj.
yeah.
Why is the vote being held prior to the new senators getting there and being involved? This is bullshit. Yes, it's
I
it's a
mean, on the
McConnell
other
thing.
hand, Vance would be able to vote in this one, and he wouldn't be voting if they waited.
Right.
They're gonna get. I mean, they'll get Justice out of West Virginia. They're gonna get who out of Montana? I forget his name. They're gonna get the pickups. They're gonna get McCormick out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot of change. I think the reason that they're saying that they're doing it is so that Trump can hit the ground running with the appointments, because we don't need to be waiting 2 months or whatever. You know, last time it took forever to get some of those appointments going.
the plan is that they actually want January 20th post inauguration. They'll do like a session where they will actually vote in several nominees that
Yeah.
same day.
just right off the bat,
They're just
get
gonna
everything
just
moving.
go in, get because the get the leadership plan so that you can have the committees can do their immediate approval of the nominee, and then move it right to Senate confirmation. They'll want to. Hopefully, he'll have his full cabinet and undersecretaries the same day he takes office.
Yep.
And Trump is 100%, and this is one of the good things with Vance there. They are super focused on not making some of the same personnel mistakes, and I think that is a point that again is demonstrated with not letting Pompeo was publicly campaigning clearly to get into the administration again.
Yeah.
And
And
Trump is going to do the thing where he lets people come and like, you know, you know,
kiss
hold
the ring.
court and kiss the ring. It was just like, for everybody who thinks Romney is a man of principle, his ass was there in 2016 trying to be Secretary of State, and Trump made him go there, had him kiss the ring, and then was like,
And
no,
then told him, still
no.
no.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good that he's doing that. They're also not doing an official transition.
Right.
There's
Trump
they
has
are
his own transition team and is
Yeah.
funding it himself.
Yep. Because normally, if you do a government, there's a funding mechanism where you can get an officially government sanctioned transition office. But the problem is that makes all those transition records government records, which we learned from last time. The people who were deep state kind of established bureaucrats were handing over those records left and right to
Leaking it
and
everywhere.
leaking it everywhere and causing investigations, getting special counsels appointed on Russia within the first month of him being in office. Oh,
Yeah.
it's such a waste. And so I think again, Trump is, if anything, the lawfare is done. It's hopefully crystallized the point that Trump needs to just go all out with his people without trying
Well,
to
the
Trump.
lawfare's almost done. We still have the state things. So we've got November 26th, the sentencing in New York. So
I
we'll see how they
if I'm
decide to
now
play with that.
Alvin Bragg. See, Trump's people aren't pushing. I don't think Trump's people are going to try to push to the sentencing out because they want to be able to get to appeal. Because
Right.
much like the other case, they are fairly confident this whole thing falls apart on any kind of appeal scrutiny,
Yeah.
because it was such a novel action that I mean, and for people who were concerned that the New York appeals court was just going to be kind of a rubber stamp on what Letitia James and Alvin Bragg were doing, go look at how that went for them a few weeks ago when they were in court trying to defend that business case that Letitia James got. That prosecution got ripped. Like, they were getting ripped from 10 seconds in
Yeah. The
to saying,
justices
I'm
were
so and
not
so
having
and
it.
I represent them. They're like, hey, can you point to a case ever where a person has ever, been brought up on charges for this? Well, no, you can't. There isn't any.
Yeah.
The justices were like, and they're like, what's the limiting factor on the kind of charges that the attorney general could bring under this logic? And what do you mean? It was like, it seems like under this logic, they can pretty much arrest anybody, anytime, for anything.
Right.
Uh, so the justices are not comfortable with that either.
No.
So,
I mean,
because
it'll be funny if they try to sentence him to jail. But, I mean, at this point, they've just like with Smith, they've got to know that everything's over
yeah, Jack Smith put in his paperwork to vacate all future court dates at the moment for
and
his
vacate
case.
himself out of the position as quickly as possible.
The
He does
interesting
not want to
thing,
be there when the inauguration happens.
the interesting thing for me is the one out of Florida with Cannon, because she dismissed it on the grounds that he was not authentically appointed as a U.S. attorney,
Well,
and so
yeah,
therefore he couldn't bring any charges. The DOJ was hot to appeal that because they really didn't like the idea that, because they've tried to do that now with several special counsels where they've kind of not really there used to be a special counsel statute, like when people think of Whitewater and the Clintons in the 90s. That was actually, it was the independent, it was passed after Nixon, And Congress basically said, in the event that the executive branch is being investigated, here is the statute for the DOJ having to appoint a special counsel who has an independent budget from the Congress to investigate the executive branch
Right.
and be separate and basically be duly authorized as an agent of effectively the just government independently of the executive branch to investigate. That lapsed after
They used to
Clinton.
have to be confirmed by the Senate too,
Yeah,
right?
so because that was the thing. The independent counsel statute allowed, one was appointed, they got confirmed, and then they got to go about their business.
Right. Ken
And
Starr.
yeah, so like I believe it was Powell, not Janet Reno who appointed Ken Starr, but it went through Senate. Like you still, the DOJ picked one, the Senate confirmed it, and then they were just effectively independent until they submitted their final report.
But there
That
were also rules on who could be picked.
Yeah, and that lapsed, right? Congress let that go away. So at that point, there was no longer an independent counsel; it was just DOJ. And DOJ, U.S. attorneys are appointed and approved by the Senate.
Right.
You get now. Usually, it's pro forma, where if the Department of Justice submits the paperwork for someone to be like the district attorney, the U.S. attorney out of New York's Manhattan, district, they'll just get the paperwork and it just goes and they confirm it.
Yeah.
But that's still confirmed by the Senate. Jack Smith was never confirmed by the Senate.
Nope.
He's always been a hack, a 100%
Every
hack.
time he's been used, yes.
Yep. He's somebody
And
who understands the job and does it.
yep, he understands the assignment. Go out there and whether it's legal or not, just figure something out to try to get charges, just so that we can say there's charges or a conviction, even if the conviction is never going to stand.
All right. Now
So
I've got the
it's
clip because I think it is relevant
okay.
of Mike Davis, who is an attorney for Donald Trump, speaking to Letitia James, who's the district attorney of New York State, basically came out after Trump won and said, "Well, we've been prepared for it. We know this is, and so we're going to be able to still take action against him."
Yeah. Happy
And
birthday,
this,
Drew. Yeah, let me pull
it's,
this
yep.
on.
So this is Mike Davis, one of the attorneys who's worked with Trump through the lawfare, and he was speaking with Benny Johnson specifically about Letitia James' comments.
Oh, I'm not hearing him. Did you share the audio too?
I believe, yeah, I've never not shared the audio.
It's showing muted down in the corner.
How do I
Try resharing it.
All right. Share screen. Share tab audio. Yes, that's what I've had. Share. All right. Let's see.
It's
All
still
right, I'm
coming
gonna.
unmuted.
How is it
There.
coming in?
I can unmute it now. For some reason, it was doing it on election night too. The first share was muting, and then the second one I could unmute it. It should be good.
Yeah, I won't complain like Tom did though, so that's fine.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time. And we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike. This isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't rig elections. Don't illegally vote. Don't try the funny business, because we know the team this time and they are not effing around.
Let me just say this.
So the "we'll put your fat ass in jail" quote is what's been getting shared around.
Oh no, they're upset about name calling.
Yeah, but I do. This is a 100% the right attitude. Like, no more, no mas. Yeah. Like, we're gonna. Hey Tish, we'll put your fat ass in jail if you do this again.
Yeah, especially those who were actively involved in the lawfare stuff. I think it'll be just like Hillary. I don't think he's going to go after everybody. But people like that, yes, because they
I
were
don't.
directly
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I don't think so. At this point, this is the part where Trump looks at it as, and this is my read on Trump's mindset. I've won. We're starting over. You let go of everything that's been done, and we'll move on. But if you keep bringing it up or
Step out of
trying,
line, we'll
I
put you
will.
back in.
We're going after. We're doing this now. Like, I've learned the
Yeah.
lesson. Yeah.
Yep. And they're the first ones to do it, so it's fair turnabout's fair play now. So
Yeah. So I think I've got if we want to, now's a good time to maybe do some clips. I've got another one that we were talking about, which was, and I think some people have probably seen this make the rounds, which is the Jake Tapper learning about how good Kamala was doing compared to Biden in 2020. It's a very illustrative of this election so far. So let me get that shared.
Yep.
Hopefully the audio will come through again.
Well, if not, we'll just reshare it. It's not showing it as muted, so it should be good.
All right. So again, yeah, the context again was Jake Tapper is speaking with John King about counties in America where Kamala Harris is overperforming the 2020 results.
There'll be a lot of questions asked about this after the fact. This is not a good environment for any incumbent. Kamala Harris is the incumbent vice president. What this shows you is not votes. This shows you the darker the county, the more that county has been hit by inflation. Meaning, the darker the county, the more cost of living, energy prices, gas prices, housing prices in a lot of places have outpaced wage increases. Right? Try to find me. See the green?
Yeah, what does that mean?
That's the county where your wages have outpaced inflations. You can use a hand. You will fill one hand. In the more than 4,000 counties and townships in the United States, you use one hand to fill out the counties where wages have outpaced inflation.
So can I make two observations?
So I just want to come back into your comment.
Oh my goodness! Look
I want
at
to
that.
come back to your comment. The darker the county,
This is
the more
Pennsylvania.
punishment.
All right,
the more
maybe this was the other
inflation has
clip about
outpaced your
inflation.
wages,
Yeah.
your cost of living. And just look. I mean, the fact that she's doing as well in the suburbs is a testament to the Democratic strength there. But you see in these other places, it's just that was the headwind, and that came up. I can tell you, I was on the road for 15 months, and that everyone's been.
Yeah, shocker that these people just figured out that inflation was a problem.
Right. I mean, that is why YouTube is becoming the news.
Yep. How ridiculous is that one? All right.
Yeah, Eric, I don't disagree. I would love to see there be some bullying. I don't think it stops until one of theirs actually gets actual consequences for starting it. It's kind of like the filibuster thing. When Harry Reid decided to go with the nuclear option and get rid of the filibuster for judicial appointments, everybody told him it's going to come back to bite you. He decided to do it anyway, and then we've got Supreme Court justices now that we probably wouldn't have had. So I don't think they learned the lesson until something actually hits them in the face. So I would love to see it. I just don't know which one you go after or who they go after, and I don't think it's really in Trump's personality to actually do it. He will talk about it constantly, but I mean, we didn't see anything with Hillary. He does actually try to be a unifier, as weird as that is, with the way the country views him, or at least half the country views him. So we'll see.
And so I got the next clip lined up, which if you want to put it on the screen, this is Joy Reid being really happy about Gen X and what they brought to the table in the election.
Yet it was the hip hop and Hulk Hogan generation, the F Your Feelings latchkey kids who came up on Dynasty, Dallas, and The Apprentice, who were the lone age group that voted in a majority for Trump. A majority of Gen X voted to turn America into an autocracy and to condemn our kids and grandkids to a far-right Supreme Court, probably for the rest of their lives. And it was not just Gen X, because while 91% of black women voted for Kamala Harris, 53% of white women overall voted for Trump, despite the open disrespect and demonization hurled by J.D. Vance and the Supreme Court stripping women's bodily autonomy, courtesy of Donald Trump. who closed his repulsive campaign by dropping the B word on Nancy Pelosi. The breakdown by education.
Fact check: Nancy Pelosi is a bitch. So,
yeah, a pretty nasty one too.
Yep.
Education was stark. Harris won 57% of white women with college degrees and lost 63% of white women without them. It was also men. Trump won every age group of men, including 60% of Gen X men and 6 in 10 white men. Also Latino.
I am just going to click back because on that chart, Trump won every age group of males. Like, I don't know what, like, where she's talking about is specifically like she's upset at Gen X. There was no male age bracket where he didn't win.
She's upset with Gen X because Gen X typically doesn't go out and they're not the high propensity voter block.
Gen X, 45, mostly it's the back end of that purple, which is the 44-ish, and the biggest chunk of that 45 to 64. So,
and I mean, the thing with Gen X, I mean, the other part of it is it's the smallest generation. So, I mean, you can be upset that it broke heavily for Trump, but it's also the smallest block out of the generations. At least until some of the other generation starts aging out.
Yeah, the as Bad Take Bojan put in her comment, Gen X rocks, and my 2 Gen Z boys voted Trump. The demographic alliance that basically put Trump in office was Gen Z and Gen X. The millennials are, like, mad about things, but millennials, for which the younger ones, especially like the more 30 to 40 range, which is like prime millennial, they were definitely not voting for Trump. But like us, who are depending on where you read, we're either Gen X, cusp, Zennial, or whatever. We're that, we're in that more like 42 to 44 range, where they might class as a millennial. But Gen X and Gen Z are the groups that put Donald Trump in office. So they need to watch out. That's where Barron was a huge asset, getting Trump to go on a lot of those podcasts, talking to him about where he could speak to young men and young people. He went going and doing Rogan, all those things. Barron Trump was a huge beneficial influence to his father this campaign.
Very much so, because she chose the wrong podcast. Barron had him going on the right ones. The ones that would actually get some reach with Gen Z.
Theo, Rogan. I mean, it's he told him, hey, do that like just 18-hole stream with Duchesne,
Bryson DeChambeau,
the golfer, and because it's so relatable, man. That just watching Trump on the golf course, and you find out, I guess the dude can golf. He's actually pretty solid at it.
Yeah, he wasn't joking when he says he would have beaten the crap out of Joe Biden in golf.
Yeah, I don't even know that Joe Biden could swing a golf club anymore. He can't walk. So
yeah, I don't believe for a second he could. But I mean, it was things like that, seeing those moments where you're actually seeing the candidate as a person rather than just the candidate. I mean, again, the whale psychiatrist thing, I mean, hilarious. Almost all of the moments during the golf was him being just off the cuff. No real politics there. DeChambeau
that is my question. I'll
need
start
any
with you.
politics. So it was great branding.
Yep. And we've got another clip now. This was from CNN. This is something you were talking to me about before the show, where they are now pushing for Biden to resign, so that basically that they blame him. The new thing is he's held on too long. They blame him for screwing Kamala over, even though she didn't even run in a primary, didn't get any votes. Somehow it's Joe's fault that people didn't like Kamala. So it's
is looking for. That is my question. I'll start with you.
Joe Biden has been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve her from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. and it would make sure that it would
You
dominate
see
the
him
news
laughing
at a
as
point
they're
where
saying that,
Democrats
like
have to
Scott
learn
Jennings.
Scott
drama
Jennings is like,
and
you guys are
transparency
crazy.
and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
Okay, this
operate.
is now
He's
jumped
laughing his
from an
ass off.
internet meme to a Sunday morning show.
Jamal's out here right now for a
Congratulations.
season of House of Cards.
I thought you were going to say, what about the Supreme Court?
Even he
That's
can't
also
keep
out
a straight
Well, the
face.
Supreme Court might happen. I don't know if it will, but I think this is something that's
He is looking for. That is my question. I'll start with you.
Wait, you mentioned that too. That I guess there's a theory that they want to put Kamala on the Supreme Court.
There's been crazy leftists on Twitter that have said, yeah, one of the Supreme Court justices should retire so that Kamala can be appointed onto the court. And Biden doesn't like Kamala. Biden's not going to do anything to give Kamala a hand. I don't even know that he voted for Kamala. I mean,
there is a non-zero
he's
chance
a furious old man
that he went in and was like MAGA.
Yeah, I mean, he's wearing the hat, so.
This is.
But I love that it's well, we can spare her having to do the actual J6 stuff since she is the current vice president, so she wouldn't actually have to count or certify the election if she was president before that. But that's their concern. We've got to spare her this. She needs to be able to be called president, even though she's never earned anything.
Yeah, Bad Take is pointing out that Sotomayor is 70 with not always under control diabetes.
Right.
So they're worried that she could go at any time. I mean, I will tell you that I'm hoping that within the short term, Alito and Thomas
stick around for a little while.
No, I want. I
would
would like
gone immediately.
No, not Thomas can finish this year's term. He can. They're in the middle of the fall docket. They're going to do January. They'll meet to do certiorari to pick which cases they're here in the spring, with all decisions out by June, July. I think Thomas announced this is what Kennedy did. He announced that Kennedy announced that he was retiring. He was going to finish that term, and then they had that whole time to go through the appointment process for his replacement, which I believe was Gorsuch.
Yep. I think
so. So I would like to do that with Thomas, and then do Alito. They're both the older, longer serving ones on the Supreme Court. I mean, we've got a little bit of buffer, but I don't want to disregard people's feelings and wanting to keep their job. I know that for Thomas, he's really interested in being the longest serving Supreme Court justice in history, which I think is 23 years right now is the record.
Yeah.
Or 33 years, something like that. And he wants to go for it. Supreme Court. But it's just something where it's much easier. 36 years, 7 months, 8 days. So, and when I think Thomas was appointed,
it's what was that, the 80s?
1991.
91.
Yeah, so he's got maybe like 4 or 5 more years to get that record, and he would be into the next presidential term to do it. So it's not worth it. Not worth going for it.
Well, and even by the midterms, you don't know what it's going to look like, whether we hold the Senate after midterms. So I'd say that's what I was meaning by stick around for just a little while, go the year and then get out before the midterms.
Yeah, I mean, you can do multiple Supreme Court appointments if you need to. Like if him and Alito if they both gave their notice and finished the term, that would be plenty of time to do 2 choices and 2 appointments for the next year.
But we need to put on people that replace those 2 seats, the right way, because they are by far the 2 voices of reason on the Supreme Court at the moment.
I have been very happy with Gorsuch. Gorsuch is he's not always my ideal judge in that he reached the decision that I would like him to reach, but he is my ideal judge in that he's always doing it based on what the Constitution
interpreting the
Constitution and law says. Like a couple years back, he was the author of the decision that basically gave that chunk of tribal land back to the Native Americans.
Right.
And his reasoning was the last treaty that was signed, which was ratified, said that this was their land. That's the last legal authority on this question. Now,
Right.
what it looks like in the real world for who's been running things is not what we're here to address. This is the question of law says that this is their land and we need to work. That's what the facts are. Because he went, like, if you want to do, if we need to buy and do a new treaty or do whatever, you guys need to do that now. But this is what it is. And it doesn't, what the facts on the ground are. It's like here, yeah, and that's not necessarily. I was like, oh no, that opens up Pandora's box for a lot of tribal nations to possibly go after a lot of stuff. But in the end,
Only
it's
if they had
true.
the same type of treaty.
Yeah, but most of them, kind of did. So it's
Yeah.
the sad part is that but that's not wrong. We broke a lot of treaties, and so that doesn't change the real world outcome of what happened. But it does mean that legally there's going to end up being an avenue for recourse, and that's probably the right way it should go.
Yeah,
And
I just agree with Bill. I would hate to see Thomas and Alito go because they are that good. Because I mean, I think, and I was saying this, I think it was Thursday night. I think what we're going to see from the Supreme Court during this next term is the actual like 3-3-3 split. Because I think Roberts, with the Republicans controlling all levers of government, I think he's going to try to pull the Supreme Court as close to the middle as he can to
there's
make
no
it not seem like he's
well,
putting his finger on the scale.
the
Because he's
problem
always been so bad about what is the legacy of the Supreme Court and while I was the Chief Justice. I mean, you can see multiple decisions where he's just like, nope, we've got to keep ourselves out of this. So
the thing is he can get overruled.
yeah.
So even if he's on the majority side, within the majority group, there's primary opinion and there's dissenting opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there can be dissenting opinions and then dissents within dissents. So the majority opinion is written, and it's usually, and the Chief Justice assigns who writes the majority opinion within the majority group, as long as they all agree in majority for that opinion. So Roberts, right now the court is 6-3, effectively conservative, with veins of more
Yeah.
conservative versus less conservative. If we're talking on a spectrum, it starts Thomas, then goes Alito, then Gorsuch, then Kavanaugh, then Amy Coney Barrett, then Roberts. On the spectrum. And there's been times where Roberts has been on that 6-3 group, but what he'll write up a dissenting, or opinion that's a little less robust
Scathing
than what ends up happening by the majority, because so there's ways to rein him in. He can only do so much as long as he can. Now, if he's in the majority opinion and he wants to take a decision and write it, he can, but he still has to get all the rest of the people in the majority to sign off on his opinion and be okay with it. Like, if he writes the majority opinion and they're like, that's not what we want to decide, the other ones will come out and they get to rewrite the majority opinion, and his majority opinion becomes a concurring opinion, right? Something where it's like, well, I think they went a little too far. I think this is the legitimate thing. And
right.
And I think there's a lot of judges out there that are solid. Like, there's Saint Benitez out of California, who, at least in the 2A community, that's his nickname. He's the one who constantly is overruling and ruling unconstitutional California's gun laws.
Right.
So, and then they go to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit promptly does shenanigans and sends it back. They tried to overturn him a couple years back, and then the new decisions on Second Amendment came down, and they said, go back and you need to rehear these things. And each time he rehears it, he's like, yep, I still think that's all unconstitutional. Magazine bans are a problem. Gun bans are a problem. It's all overruled. We just got a decision out of Illinois where a federal judge ruled their assault weapons ban unconstitutional and their magazine ban unconstitutional. And it was super well reasoned. And he's a younger judge. I believe he was a Trump
But he
appointment.
also Didn't he stay the decision?
He has. It
He made the
effectively has to,
decision and then stayed it.
because for something like this, because it has such a specific impact for laws, you give them a stay for 30 days to file an appeal.
Right. So
And
on
then the-
appeal, that's going to take what, 2 years to actually
No.
do
Nope,
anything?
nope.
You think, or
No, if things work properly through the channels, once a federal court judge makes his full opinion, an appeals court will hear it if they agree to hear it within normally about 4 or 5 months, with a
Okay.
decision of about 2-3 months after that. And then it would going to the Supreme Court would be like a 2-year process because
right?
of all the time.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Is it's going to go all the way up.
Now,
I think.
well, the Supreme Court, it might be moot. The Supreme Court has a case out of Maryland, which was in the Fourth Circuit, where the Fourth Circuit ruled constitutional Maryland's assault weapons ban and magazine ban,
Mhm.
and that is being petitioned for certiorari in January. And the hope is they'll hear it next year, and Thomas will be able to write his. Thomas is the guy we like writing these 2A case decisions. He's very strong on them.
Yep.
And he could basically rule under the logic of the other decisions, banning assault weapons, which are in common use, semi-automatic rifles, makes no sense. So
yeah, they've kind
all
of been
these states together.
signaling that if they got the
Yes.
right case,
And
they
this is the right
will,
one.
They will take
Yep.
it up and make it happen. Yep.
The other thing is, if they don't take it up this time, that Illinois case creates right now. I think they're going to end up taking it up now, because even while that Illinois case may go to appeal, there is now currently a circuit split. That means a federal court out of Illinois' zone has now ruled assault weapons bans unconstitutional.
Right. So
Whereas Maryland has, and the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled they are constitutional. The Supreme Court, anytime districts have different opinions, absolutely has to step in and make the decision. That's the one thing that can force the Supreme Court to take a case.
Split decisions.
You can't have splits within circuits. So that almost guarantees that sometimes the Supreme Court will take them and then remand them back to be, reviewed in the light of certain things, and then to do it. But eventually, if the circuit split stands, they take it and have to take it.
Yep. Well,
So
now the chat's talking about fries, and I'm wondering how quickly RFK will be able to get us back to
beef tallow.
Beef tallow.
Ooh, that's the win.
That would be one of the biggest wins of this election cycle, is if we get beef tallow French fries from McDonald's again.
Yeah. So this the next clip, have you seen this one where they're having their little emotional struggle session about the loss with Yang
I've
and
seen
Vance?
most of them, but they're all kind of just blending in together now, because it's been like, The View has had 3 or 4 days of just the same
where they
thing
all
over
came
and
out
over
in
and over.
black.
Yeah. Insane.
And here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and the conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them and knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit. It's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
Well, in fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk with their PACs don't know what they're doing.
We
they're
were
blowing
making
it. That
we
was
were
the-
making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got out.
24-hour-a-day weapons. That's like the
right.
It's like, but this is again, we've talked about it, reinforcing that Elon Musk releasing Twitter/X into the competitive zone is probably one of the most significant changes in the 2020 versus this election.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, even in 2016, where X was still on the side of the Democrats, but they just let a little more go because they didn't take Trump seriously.
They hadn't started the mass banning.
Yeah, the difference between Trump didn't win the popular vote then, and inflation, and then having X be able to counter message any allegations that were lies, it it really did make a difference, and I think helped contribute to the popular vote victory.
Well, the other thing they've got is, I mean, the campaign doesn't spend anything on any of shows like this or, Benny Johnson, all the guys that are rising up, making their own political shows and doing things, bringing actual news instead of what the mainstream media is doing. The government or the campaign didn't have to spend on that. They showed up on a lot of those guys' channels and stuff. And hopefully we get there at some point to where we're able to have some big name guests, but that didn't cost anything. That's just us being sick of what the mainstream media does and sick of our government. So, I mean, Van's close to getting the actual point because there's so many on the left right now that still have not figured out what the hell happened. Van's partially right. Charlie Kirk, Pressler, all those guys motivated voters and got them registered. But it was still, you guys appointed a candidate that nobody likes. She'd never got any votes. And it all still comes down to the economy, stupid. I mean, as much as she was hated, if the economy was good, they probably would have been fine. But the economy sucks. And we've seen what Trump did when he was president. They still are, they still seem to memory hold the whole 4 years that he was president. Like, yeah, he actually put people in camps. No, none of the stuff that they're saying is going to happen happened. The stuff that we have said happened, hopefully will be happening again. And Vivek was out there yesterday and today saying, yes, the plan is to start mass deportations. And you know what will happen? We'll also take away all the federal funding for all of this stuff. So you're not going to have the credit cards going to people to buy food or any subsidies for the housing for illegals. Once that money is gone, people will self-deport themselves. I mean, that's kind of the plan that they're going with is, yes, we will do deportations. We will also cut all the funding for all these programs that they're basically just paying people to come in illegally. And once you do that, they've got no ability to stay here on their own. So that's what we're hoping for real quick.
Well, here's some, I guess, is this today? Breaking news, Chuck Schumer's being a little bitch. He's not letting Dave McCormick into the new senator orientation that's going to be held next week.
Schumer is a little bitch.
Yep.
I can't wait to be done with that generation of politicians altogether.
He's looking glum. Looking glum there, Chuck.
Yeah.
I need to isolate that clip from the what is it, that dinner that Trump went to. Look at Chuck over there looking glum.
Yeah. From the Catholic Charities dinner.
Yeah.
The one that Trump showed up to and Kamala just made a horrible, horrible skit.
Yeah.
Another misstep by them.
I haven't watched this one yet. Charlemagne the God reacting to Trump getting 33% of the people of color vote.
Yeah.
Is it good?
I think that one was fine. Yeah.
All right. Let's see what he's got to say.
What do you make of the demographics here? I mean, Trump got 1 out of every 3 voters of color.
No.
Yeah.
1 out of
33%.
No. Really?
Yeah.
When you say color, you mean like black, brown, everything. Oh.
What do you make of the
Well, we don't count the brown people. That's
no. There's no way that happened.
No.
Yeah, actually, it happened.
He almost got the majority of Latino. He was like, I think he was in his mid 40s was what they were clocking at.
Yeah, because
he got the majority of Latino men, just not, with the women factored in. It was mid 40s.
Well, and on the border states, he did really well with them because, yeah, they're sick of the invasion. And we saw the one county in Texas that was 97% of the Latino vote went to Trump.
Yeah, was it Starr County, like down in the border?
Yeah,
it was the
right
first
on the
time a
border.
Republican had ever won that county.
Well, since like I mean, it's in like 80 years or something like that. I can't remember the exact time, but a ridiculous amount of time since the Republicans won there, and the Latino vote was like 97-3 Trump. So yeah, there's definitely some shifting going on.
I really love I want to see the postmortems on Kamala's campaign that lit $1 billion on fire are
And
going to
is
be
still
so
in
good.
debt.
And still in debt. I guess I'm on the mailing list somehow and I've been getting emails about how they still need donations. I was like, do you think that people are going to help donate to you now?
Well, it's
Like,
reparations now.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I got on their donor list either, because it doesn't even have the right name. It's got my correct email, but every one of the emails comes to "Hello, Sharon," and then goes into the spiel. So it's not.
Oh,
It's
hey,
like,
Mark.
"Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I did
I'm
not
here
hit
from
her. I did
I'm
not."
I'm here from Harris Falls. Hey, Mark. Do you want more? You want to send us money?
But I love that they keep sending it to me, because that just means that they're spending money on trying to get money out of me, and it's not even the right person.
You want to have a little meme fun with the chat?
Yeah, we can do a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't do too much of the meltdown and stuff, so.
Yeah. Plus, we don't have with no reason to look at polls anymore.
Right.
So
Polling's done.
Oh, it doesn't want to
New
embiggen.
phase of the show. Yeah, those don't blow up very
Yeah.
well.
So it's from the Seinfeld episode where the Kenny's Rogers Roasters had moved in. What's going on in there? And it's all the red map. Trump 47, Jerry.
Trump 47.
Trump 47.
I
Let's
basted
see.
myself.
Oh, this one's one of my favorites. Trump
Yeah, so
just waving goodbye out the McDonald's window.
let's go around the square from the upper left. So we got Barack, then some that I
Random
don't
supporters.
know. Yep.
Yeah. Podesta.
Then we got Podesta, Bill, Hillary down at the bottom. Then Huma Abedin,
George Soros,
and Huma's ex, Wiener.
But what's funny, I don't know if they made this way on purpose, because now
Right.
Huma is married to Soros's
Alex
Soros's son. So Alex Soros is now stepdaddy to Wiener's kids.
Yep.
With Huma, who is, according to Alex Jones and others, intimately involved with Hillary.
That's been the allegations, yes.
Yeah, that's what he had alleged.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, if you go to the Alex Jones folk song, he heard that she was into freaky weird shit. So this one was a good one.
Yeah, I like this one.
For Peanut and Fred. If you strike us down, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
And the Force Ghost showed up at the concession speech.
They did. Just driving it home for Kamala. I was feeling very joyful and getting a vibe off her concession speech. So that was
possibly the only good speech she gave.
I mean,
that was the only one where she actually looked like she wasn't completely nervous and stressed out about everything. I think she was actually happy that it's over. Because I don't know that I think she probably thinks that she could have run the country, but I think probably deep down she knows that she's an idiot.
I also sort of think that she knows that she didn't really want that job.
Yeah. I mean, I do, at some point when we get a female president, I'm going to be interested to look at how much it ages a female president. Because Trump's the only president that I've seen in my lifetime that didn't just completely age in office. Barack looked horrible after he got done. Most of them look horrible after they get done with the presidency. So it would be funny just to see the aging process of a female president.
And whether we can put up with it. I mean, Maggie did all right over in England as prime minister.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty, I mean,
I don't know that the prime ministers seem to show their age the same way that the presidents do, though.
Well, there's a lot less stress, right? England's
you're not running the free world.
yeah, England isn't, they're just like, if they have a big issue with something going on in the world, they're usually calling up the United States.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's a different stress level. It's a different, it's a 24/7 job. I mean, unless you're Biden, in which case it's a two job, 2 hours a day, 2 days a week.
Yeah.
When you're not
Get
on
up,
vacation.
have some food, take a nap. Don't take any meetings, take another nap. Never speak to the press, have some ice cream, go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen what's interesting. I've seen some articles where they're going after the God King Obama for his campaigning for Harris and the way he turned off the blackmail vote by talking
Yeah,
down to him.
with his appeal to the brothers.
Yep.
Didn't work out all that well. I think I think it's I think Barack probably came out as the biggest loser here. He lost his fourth term.
I know. Yeah, there's people like going after Taylor Swift for not being supportive enough to get her Swifties to the polls. I was like, she is over in politics. I mean, I guess technically she supported him in 2020 with Biden, so on paper that's a win, but we all know. And so
She
she
may
got
have had
trounced
a
about
little
black.
Yeah, she may have had a little bit of influence in the 2022 midterms when abortion was on just about every state ballot.
Yeah, I don't think that was from her. That was because they
No,
had,
but that's about the only time that she was on the right side of how the election went. Because I still think 2022 was a referendum on Roe v. Wade being overturned and having that on just about every state's ballot because you had to get some law in place in the states. So that was an interesting election because we all felt like a red wave was coming, but I think that that took a little bit of wind out of the sails, and I think it was that topic specifically, and that being on so many ballots on states. But it
Yeah.
wasn't effective during this presidential election because I think we got some of the some of the people to actually understand that yeah, it is the states, and you guys have pretty much voted on it at the state level at this point. So
Well, someone was pointing out, like, if you're in Pennsylvania or Michigan and they've already passed on the state level, whatever, like in Michigan, they did a constitutional amendment to their state constitution to allow all, whatever goes when it comes to abortion. Like, what are you worried about? Why are you worried? You're not worried about abortion anymore in Michigan. So
that's why it was ineffective for her whole campaign to be Trump bad and kill your babies.
Yeah, so it's not. I mean, that boogeyman can only really. 2022 was their perfect storm to negate the red wave, with that abortion stuff, because they put it on state ballots, especially like in Michigan and some other places, to negate, to boost turnout for the liberal side, and it worked, and it helped them win those toss-up seats. But now that's done. Right now, if you went through a whole campaign on the state level where they were talking about a state constitutional amendment for these abortion, rights, and you voted for it and it won, you feel like you're done now. It's done, right?
Right.
You're not going to keep campaigning on it. And when they tried to, and when during the debate, when they were like, "You're going to do an abortion ban," was Trump's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I would veto it. I'm not. We're not passing a national abortion ban."
Yeah.
This is
It's
again
news
where
to me.
this is where Trump is sufficiently separated from the Republican traditionalist, whereas voters weren't going to be like, he's a lying Republican. Voters are like, yeah, Trump doesn't give a shit about abortion like that.
Yeah.
He said he sent it back to the states. He's not going to fight to get a national abortion ban. This isn't Lindsey Graham in there, confirmed bachelor Lindsey Graham.
Yep. Well, and since we're on that topic, we'll bring this one in real quick, just from a little while ago, but it's still hilarious, especially with this 4B movement going on right now.
Why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? They're like 5'2", 350 pounds, and they're like, give me my abortions or I'll get up and march. They need to get up and march for like an hour a day, swing those arms, get the blood pumping, maybe mix in a salad. Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
And this is why Matt Gaetz is never going to be in leadership.
Right. But it's great. And this whole 4B movement thing is just hilarious because it's basically, yeah, that's what we've asked you the whole time. Control yourself, then you don't have to worry about abortion.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simple. You're just handing us the win and calling it a protest. Fine with me. So I think that gets us pretty close to wrapping. You got anything else?
No, we're gonna have a new style show now. We don't have to clock horse racing, horse race on the polls. Where
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I know Eric was in Myers was in here earlier saying that my white pill won over his black pill this time, and I was like, I was always looking at just the underlying facts of the race, right? It just didn't. It never. There was no data that showed me that Kamala was going to win places Biden did that she needed. When they added Tim Walz, there was nothing that said that he was going to add anything. In fact, Minnesota was more competitive than it had been when Walz wasn't on the. So, and like I said, Michigan and Pennsylvania, they definitely all went for Trump. I was a little surprised Wisconsin kind of just followed suit, but but otherwise it matched our prediction. I think 2028 is going to be wild on the Democrat side. It's going to remind me a lot of 2020 when they had like 14 or 15 people trying like hard to run for an open seat. We're going to have an open seat on each side, so I wouldn't be surprised if each, Republican and Democrat are going to be having like 15 plus candidates. The question is how quickly Vance might be able to consolidate if they do a good job.
It's
We'll
a
see
little
how that
ways
goes.
away.
Yeah.
And lots of people, I mean, you can have new rising stars, you can have, people fading. I think it will probably be Vance versus DeSantis as the main race out of, again, another 15 to 17 people like we saw when Trump was coming on. I mean, this year, nobody was seriously trying to, well, they were trying to, they weren't seriously going to challenge Trump after all the lawfare started.
You know who I'm going to compare DeSantis to, and people aren't going to like it at all, is Rick Perry.
Yeah.
Governor of Texas, formerly.
Great governor, not good nationally.
Really loved governor. People loved what he did with Texas. He was allegedly a great governor of Texas, super popular. People thought he was doing all the right red state things. And he just was a terrible candidate for president. Like when he tried to run, you remember when he pulled his little note card out and it was upside down and he didn't know how to do it at the debate.
Yeah.
DeSantis seems like a really effective governor doing really good things in Florida, but he was not good.
He was a bad campaigner.
He's
typically great speaking to the media and getting his points across, but the campaign itself was not a good campaign. And I like DeSantis. I think he is a great governor, but I just don't know that he's a national leader. We'll see though. It's 4 years.
Yeah, we got plenty of time to see where it goes. I think he's term limited, so he'll be out of office from being governor by then.
In 2 years.
So we'll have some new blood. We'll see. Really, the bottom line right now, like I said, this is the transition time. This is the make or break for the Trump 47, presidency. If you get the right personnel, you can really go and do some good things. If Trump blows it, if we don't, if they don't do the right stuff, it's not going to matter one way or the other who runs. 28 will be a wipeout.
Yeah. This is our chance to prove that Republican ideals actually do, conservative ideas and Republican ideas actually do what we say they do. If the economy does have the turnaround, if the tariffs work the way that we all anticipate them working, if getting rid of the illegals, improves the country and everybody has more money in their pocket, it's going to be hard to say that it's not our ideals that are doing it this go around. I mean, they're already trying to lay the foundation for it, saying that, well, he'll be the first president in a long time that's gone in with a booming economy. But we all know where the economy is actually at. It's garbage at the moment. Even though they've gotten the annual inflation down to 2.2%, we still have compounding inflation from the past few years that we're still paying way inflated prices on all of our day-to-day stuff, and we all see it. I know everybody in chat knows this. I just don't understand all the people on the left that pretend like they can't feel what's going on in the economy. And that's another place where the mainstream media is just flat out lying and hopes that you don't actually see what's going on with your checkbook and your balance every single, well, nobody uses a checkbook anymore, but your account balance and your bank accounts. And we're all hurting. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice to have this change coming in, and hopefully our ideals prove out. Because, yeah, 4 years isn't going to fix everything, like Rosa just said.
No, it's 4 years is the ability to get a good start and see progress.
And
if you
set
do,
up for, maybe that next presidency to really start getting things going. It's going to be a transitional president because he's not going to be a lame duck, because he's got the 2 years, we've got the levers. We can do pretty much what we need to do. And then he's got no reason not to be doing whatever he wants, because, ultimately he is a lame duck, even though it's a fresh term, but we'll see. It'll be the first 2 years will be very interesting, and then we'll see what the midterms look like. But it's yeah, it's gonna be good. I think good fast. I think we'll see a lot of things being passed immediately that'll start to right the ship. And I think he's going to surround himself with people this time that are actually going to be good voices in his ears and not constantly going against him at every step. So it'll be a different presidency completely from the first term.
That's the hope. Not that he was bad in the first term, but in term, to get the improvement.
No, he was impeded at every turn, is what I'm saying. What he was wanting to do was great, and I was perfectly happy with the first presidency. But without all the impediments there, I want to see what really happens when he's let loose in the China shop. I want to see them start cutting, everything that they can. So Elon Musk, RFK, everybody that they brought into the coalition, I want all those pieces to fit in and start doing things.
Start working their field of expertise.
Exactly. Not just a politician coming in. I want Elon Musk as a businessman to come in and start just auditing the government. Maybe with a little bit of help from Rand Paul. He's kind of already got the booklet ready every year for the government spending, so we'll see. But what do you got coming up this week?
Well, I don't know what game we'll be playing on Tuesday, but probably our gaming stream here on your channel on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And then our main show, the Ascendant Art Podcast. And me and Slender Dad as the co-host. You're pretty much a regular on the panel. Imp probably going to be there regular. Possibly Mad if things are still there.
Mad's out till the 20th.
Oh, the supply. Okay. Burnt it on zombies. All right. And so send our podcast here on YouTube. It's also on the Green Machine, as some call it. Hopefully people will like and subscribe over there too, because we're trying to get those numbers up. It's more of a fun, just hangout pop culture type show, as opposed to this one, which is strictly focused on politics. But most of the chat I know has been in there over there too, so they know about it. But if anybody else hears or watches this on a replay, or is watching and not chatting, you can check that out, and we'll hopefully have a good time watching that too.
Yeah. And we got $1 over on Rumble from Mod Eric K. Who else thinks Arizona something is not right? Carrie Lake getting 75,000 less votes than all the other Republicans. Everyone I know loves her NAZ. She pissed them off by the attention the last time. Yeah, we talked about it for probably 10 minutes at the beginning of the show, Eric. But yeah, I mean, there's weird stuff in Arizona. Until they get things fixed, there's going to continue to be weird stuff. But I know everybody likes her that is, kind of in our area. But my theory was I think she pissed people off by not relenting on the last election. I think she needed to move forward.
Especially the McCaney type Republican older voters.
Yep.
And that's not an insignificant chunk of Arizona.
In Arizona, especially all those snowbirds.
Yeah, and those are the type of people who, as much as I know they talk about Trump being rude to McCain and everything, they did not like what happened to Biden because they're older and they don't like the idea of being moved on because of being old, and they also don't like Kamala and her policies. So they would have come back to. I mean, there was a large segment in polling of Trump to Biden voters, and now in polling we're seeing back from Biden to Trump again voters. This would happen in Pennsylvania too, so I think it is not out of the realm. I know that I'm not dismissing shenanigans in Arizona. The state is weird, but I still also like people to understand just because you really liked Carrie Lake and maybe I liked Carrie Lake, she was abrasive and aggressive, and not a lot of people always like that in their candidates. She it's very possible that she turned off a big chunk of that important vote.
And I think it's exactly what we would have seen if Trump had continued to just harp on the prior election rather than moving forward. I think she is a miniature of what would have happened with Trump if he had not moved on, because he for the most part stopped talking about it unless he was specifically asked about it. But she just kept talking.
I know there were reports out of Mar-a-Lago specifically earlier this year around like May, June period where the people were questioning why Carrie Lake was at Mar-a-Lago all the time and not in Arizona campaigning. Like she was like, it was an active thing people were talking about. Like she's always there sucking up and trying to be around Trump. But if she's supposed to be running for Senate in Arizona, why is she not doing events in Arizona, reaching out to voters in Arizona? People at Mar-a-Lago are not voters in Maricopa County. So Carrie Lake is an imperfect candidate. I think they would have been better off putting Blake Masters back on the ticket in as a Senate candidate. If we were putting a person who had lost a statewide race, Blake Masters was a better candidate than Carrie Lake because he went up against Mark Kelly, and for as much as we don't like it, people like all shucks astronaut Mark Kelly. He's a empty suit that he's the John McCain of the Democrats. He doesn't tell anybody any policy when he runs. He's just like, look at me, I was an astronaut.
I went to space.
I went to space, as opposed to look at me, I was a prisoner of war. Which is not, I'm not knocking people who were who were prisoners of war, but John McCain used that to deflect against questions on his policy stances his entire career.
Yeah.
He went autobiography anytime people were like, why aren't you a good senator? Well, when I was in the war, prisoner of war camp, and I could have gotten early release, I was like, that's not what we asked. It was the equivalent of Kamala with middle class child. I was a middle class child.
Well, and the other thing, yes, I don't trust Arizona all that much. But the other thing that we saw was everywhere that shenanigans started popping up, Laura Trump was there along with the lawyers to do something about it. And I'm not seeing or hearing anything from them that says that they are seeing anything that is over the top and needs a lawsuit immediately. So, and we're just giving a reasonable, I think, option as to why Carrie Lake may have failed behind Trump.
Kristen Sinema is very popular in Arizona. Mark Kelly, very popular in Arizona. Live with the fact,
state.
Even though it's a red state, live with the fact that they like their quote unquote they want their senators to be. Jeff Flake was an Arizona senator.
They want checks on the presidency. Is
they want like down. I think it's time to come to a reckoning with the fact that Carrie Lake plays to a 20% of the crowd very well, but she's not a 80%.
She plays to a MAGA base, but not necessarily to a Republican Party base.
Exactly. I don't. It's hard to say it because I know she's got super fans. People love Carrie Lake.
Oh, I like her a lot. I think she's highly effective at communicating.
She's
communicating the MAGA position.
She can take over the Laura Ingraham 7 p.m. show on Fox, and she'll be really successful. But that's not what's going to win a Senate race in Arizona.
Yep.
And there's a difference, and people have to understand that.
And we'll see what everything looks like come next week. We'll keep an eye on whether there are some lawsuits that end up happening in Arizona or any other lawsuits about shenanigans that have been happening. But that's just my thoughts on Carrie. So,
I mean, like I said, I would like to see if Charlie Kirk came out and told me, because he was super involved with Arizona stuff, with getting out there. If he comes out and vouches that Carrie Lake was doing all the work she could on the campaign side, I'd believe him. But it's interesting that people aren't coming out vouching for that. Like, there's not a lot of people coming out of the woodwork to say it must be shenanigans that Carrie Lake lost and Trump won within the Trump camp, within Turning Point. All these other, they were all counting on maybe we've got voters in these batches that are still going to be counted. But if there was stuff like that, Charlie Kirk's not a shrinking violet. He'd be on there saying, we know the numbers in Arizona. There's something wrong and we need to go fight it. I think it speaks volumes that all the people who know that the most aren't coming out saying that something's wrong with Carrie Lake losing. It's only a lot of us who was, he said it was in play 24 hours ago because they were still counting in Maricopa and they were hoping the batches would come in, and it didn't. The batches, when they got filed, Rich Barris,
who's
Rich Barris is as MAGA as they come as a poll and tabular guy, and he was saying he's not questioning. He's just like, Carrie Lake didn't get the numbers break she needed. It's just people in Maricopa weren't voting for her.
And the reason that Boebert wins in Colorado and Lake isn't in Arizona, well, one's Senate, one's House. So you've got a district that you've got to win over, not the state. Boebert would not win in a statewide election for Senate. But
I would be hesitant to say Boebert would get 40% in a statewide Colorado election.
Right. But her district, the district she came from, is almost completely red. There is like no even pinpricks of blue. And then in the district that she moved to, I mean, again, that is essentially a red district. Colorado has turned blue, but that's mostly just the major cities, just like every other state. I mean, the major cities are what changed the color of the state in a lot of cases. But districts, they typically stay red or blue based on what cities you've got in them. So, but anyway, we're way over time, and we've got, let's see, on my channel, what is today? Sunday. So I'll be on comic shows on Monday and Thursday. Tuesday night, we got gaming. I think we're going back to Party Animals just for a little bit, since it's been over a month since we played it. And then nothing this Wednesday that I know of. Friday, we've got Ascent and Art, and then Bourbon and Boarding returns after a hiatus last night for Saturday night, hockey and having some drinks. So hope everybody has a great Sunday and a great Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans. And we will catch you next week or on any of those other shows. Later.
Thanks for coming out. Bye, everybody.